What is going on, everybody? Josh and Aaron back from the Findlay Mortgage Team. Today we have a guest coming on. There's a lot of hot buzz right now talking about the real estate market, interest rates, what's happening. The R word is being thrown around a ton. The looming recession that's coming. We want
that R word.
Yes, that R word. Yes. That is happening, and we wanted to bring on a local boots on the ground expert, Milena.
Simsic.
Milena is a real estate investor out of the Windsor area. She also is the owner or founder of.
We have some details. So she's the founder of the Windsor Real Estate Investing Social and Win Social Realty team with eXp Realty. She has a pretty good looking TikTok page as well too, which we'll get some details for you guys to be able to follow in her socials and whatnot. But we will get her to come on now, and we'll introduce her to you guys.
Hey guys.
Milena, what's going on?
Oh, not too much. Thank you for having me on today on your live. Super excited to be here and finally meet you. I've seen you kind of floating around TikTok as well, like the Findlay Mortgage Team. So I have taken notice of you guys as well on TikTok. I could see you're making some really good quality content there. So TikTok could use more of that. So keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, well, thank you for having me on. I'm excited to talk about Ontario real estate and just real estate in general. It's my passion. So yeah.
We appreciate that. It's our first foray into the TikTok world, so we're working on throwing out some content. We've been on Insta for a while, but we're moving into the hip version of Insta.
Yeah, we had to be
TikTok,
we had to be cool with the social media and make sure we're up to date. So.
When I first started it, everyone thought it was stupid and think people were still dancing on it. But businesses haven't quite caught a hold of TikTok yet. It's just so much potential there. So much potential left for businesses to grow their brand there. So yeah, that's I love the platform. It grew my business pretty quickly, and I'm sure you guys are already pretty big. It'll help you grow even bigger. So yeah. TikTok's the best, yay.
I mean, we thought YouTube and Instagram was beyond a mortgage. We just didn't really think there was anything tangible to show from a mortgage perspective. We were like, okay, realtors, you guys can show some cool houses. You can do the walkthroughs. You have all these area views, and all we have is just a bunch of numbers on a whiteboard. Who wants to see that? And it turned out to be one of the best things we did. So we learned that. We decided to throw the hate of TikTok out the window and decided to jump in and try it out, and we're catching up. So we're getting there slowly.
Awesome. Okay, awesome. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, TikTok's great. I think Instagram and YouTube have better conversion rates for clients. I think TikTok's just kind of a net to catch people in and then bring them to your more established platforms. So yeah, you guys already got the established YouTube channel and the Instagram, so you're doing pretty good there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my experience with it. But yeah, on to real estate. Sorry, I could go about TikTok all day, but
no,
yeah.
So it's when we have new agents come on, and I know you're new. This is about your second year in the industry in real estate. And it's interesting how real estate industry is changing as a whole, and how people are consuming information in a different way, and investors are learning in a different way, and people are buying in a different way. When we have new agents come on, we're having them understand how important social media is in building their business as well. And segueing into real estate, having an impact or having an ability to be able to touch many people and teach people. I think there's a transition into how people are selling homes now, and obviously we can see that with the new realtors and the new agents that are coming into the industry.
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of changes in real estate and the social media field as well. I think Windsor is just starting to kind of catch up to it. There are a lot of old-fashioned ideals over here, making 1,000 phone calls a day to get a client, and I couldn't do it. I wasn't buying into it, and so the social media is starting to take off for realtors, and I would assume mortgage agents as well. And yeah, I mean, it's a great way to like show your knowledge, grow your credibility, get free exposure essentially. And yeah, I mean, good way to run your business. So, but yeah, in terms of like real estate, yeah, things have changed a lot for sure. I like compared to earlier in the year, like we were kind of at the peak over there. Sorry, I'm like segueing from social media straight into
No,
real estate. I just want to,
okay.
yeah, I'll go on all day about social media if we stay on this topic. But yeah, in terms of like the Windsor market, what I'm seeing over here, we've definitely like we've seen a peak in like February, March, and now we're I feel like we're starting to bottom out over here. Like we had like no attention on the market here in August, beginning of September, and now things are starting to just pick up just a tad. If you notice the numbers, we went from like 520 in August to 523. So people are I'm not quite sure what you guys think, like talking about social media and the media in general. People are saying there's going to be a recession in 2023. So what are your thoughts on that?
Sure. I think you have to look at the definition of a recession. I think it's two negative growth quarters, quarter after quarter, and we're actually already past that. So
This depends on who you're asking.
it really depends on who you're asking. If you're asking a politician,
Right.
we're not in it yet. If you're asking like, an economist, we're already in it. I think we do see a recession. I don't think there's really an easy way to put it. I think there's going to be a little bit more pain in the market before you start to see a recovery.
Some of our lenders just increased, like there was fixed rates went up. I think it was last night, if I remember, or the night before. But so, it was about 20 basis point, rate hike there. You take a look at like Scotia's posted rates, and you're essentially 6% across the board right now, whether you're owner occupied, or on a rental. The 5-year variable is just under, but I mean, we're all expecting at least, I think a half a basis point is a little low. I think we're probably coming in around 75, but even at that half a percent, 50 basis points, we're going to be at 6%. So I think there's a lot of talk of, like we're 6% across Canada by next year and going into 2024. And I think the little hints or the little comments that were made early in the year of, rates kind of cooling by mid 2023. I think that, that was just kind of your typical political, speeches just to kind of keep people from freaking out, and then just slowly creep up. And, now we're here and we're just trying to figure out how to deal with it all. And some people are freaking out. And some people are, excited because, real estate prices are down 30% across the market and they see a great buying opportunity coming. So, it's depending on what side of the coin you're at, it's some different emotions, I think.
Right. I think like cash is king right now for sure. The prices have dropped like over 200K in Windsor from the peak, and I'm starting to actually see like cash flowing opportunities. I bought like a single family home around the peak because that was like the only way, like I was going to do a duplex conversion. So I am doing it right now. So that was the only way I could see making cash flow and getting like an ROI above 15% in that market, is to actually build another unit. And now that's kind of changed in recent times, the past couple months. Now you can actually buy a duplex or a multifamily and see some cash flow in Windsor. So yeah, it's interesting, like kind of what's going on. People are like, at least my clients, like my investor clients, they're kind of half as to what's happening. They see a great opportunity right now to buy, and I kind of agree with them, while everybody else is scared. And then the other people, they're kind of waiting for that 2023 doomsday where everything's just going to crash and they're going to buy everything up. So it's I mean, it's interesting to see. At least like my philosophy is, if you find something where the numbers make sense and they're starting to pop up more now, I would say go for it. But yeah, it's a very interesting time in the Ontario market.
I just had an appraisal on a duplex come back 100,000 under where we thought the refinance was going to come back.
Oh no,
that was fun.
Was that in Windsor?
Yeah, that was in Windsor. So I hope it's only up from there at that point. But
I think we see, we have a rate hike coming, I believe, on the 26th, with 12 days from now. I believe that there's going to be 75 basis points. I think I was talking to a few of our larger lenders and private capital firms, and they're pricing in a full point over the next 6 months, an increase. The rhetoric and sentiment is that it does stop eventually.
Well, they want overnight rate 4.5% by the end of next year. So what is that, 1.25% right now? Potential increase. We're at 3.25 right now.
Yeah, I think so.
So potential another 1.25, 1 point to the overnight rate. So
which is huge. Like it is really interesting that deals are still being done though, and I think it's important to understand as a professional in this industry that people always need value. So anybody who's watching this who's a real estate agent or a broker or mortgage agent, coming from a place of value right now, coming from a place of helping people is going to be the way in which you're going to be able to get business in this industry and in this market. Aaron personally, we've never worked through a market like this. A lot of our lending partners that we've dealt with who opened up private capital firms and mix in the last 7-8 years, never seen a down market like this. 2008 didn't see a market that lost that much value this fast. It really is kind of unprecedented times. We've never seen anything really like this.
Yeah, I agree. I like, do you guys think it's like a good, if you were to buy like within the next 6 months, would you buy now, or do you think like you would buy a little bit later? Like, do you guys think that we might have a crash in 2023?
I'm planning on buying at the start of 2023. I think that the interest rates are going to go up, and by the start, like end of Q1 of 2023, I think the majority of the pain is out and a lot of inventory is in the market. And focusing specifically on multifamily, like larger multifamily buildings. I think that some people who bought a little while ago are going to be over leveraged. They're going to be getting squeezed in variable terms, and they're going to want to sell, and cap rates are going to expand. There's going to be a lot of opportunity in the market. And we're seeing that the best assets right now that are holding value are multifamily assets. Ones that are cash flowing, and rent has increased at such a rapid rate in the last 6 months that, any sort of increase in cap rate is being offset by the market rent on these properties. I think it's a phenomenal opportunity. And a lot of our investors are sitting on the sidelines waiting for those opportunities, probably at the start of next year.
I think it's like kind of what you mentioned earlier, like if you're doing your due diligence and you find a deal and the numbers look like they work and, you're excited about it and everything checks out, then there's nothing wrong with pulling the trigger on that deal. I think, one thing that you can easily get caught up in is just that analysis paralysis. If you're trying to factor in a whole bunch of timing and, how far down in the market are we going to fall further, where the rate's going to be? I think that's something that people definitely need to try to avoid. So I think have your numbers, talk to your broker, have an idea of where your affordability is at, have your team ready to go and your funds. And if you see a deal and it makes sense, there's nothing wrong with pulling the trigger. Like your affordability point and your comfortability is going to be different than what somebody else is going to be, in the market. So you can't be really tied up in trying to compare your buying times with other people's buying times, or you're going to put yourself in a sticking point. So is the market going to fall further? It might. There's some places that are holding up a bit more in the secondary markets than some of the major markets are. So it depends where you're looking. But it's time to tough a market. Tough to time a market either up or down. So just keep your eyes out for the good deals.
Yeah, I agree. I remember working in like February, March, and absolutely nothing was making sense. And I was talking to a TD commercial agent, and he said a lot of the deals that went through in February, March for the larger multifamilies, they were not able to get financing for them because like the cap rates that they were basing them on were incredibly low at the time they bought it. Like it was insane, like the cap rate in Windsor back then for those larger multifamilies. Like I saw stuff go for like 3%, which is insane. You might as well invest in like an index fund at that point or something instead of going through all the trouble. But yeah, it was like it was quite crazy. And now we're starting to see like in the same areas where you would have found the 3, you're starting to see like 5% now, at least for what they're selling. And I hope that goes up. Like, I would love to see more opportunities in the commercial space here in Windsor. Because yeah, the prices were ridiculously high, and some people's expectations are still kind of in February, March. So that's another issue right now. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, all the
I
sellers
what
have
is
expectations from February, and all the buyers have
Yeah.
expectations right now.
Well, you were like,
Ye-
the GVA was at like a 2% cap, and GTA was like 2.5%. So it's like, when you're buying and, you know, these markets are at 2.5 cap, where does it go from there? How do you reposition a 3.5 cap building, 3 cap building in Kitchener, Windsor, Waterloo, whatever? Like, you're telling me that these major markets have to get down to a 1.5, 1 cap? Like, it's just, it's not going to happen. And yeah, you know, like, they've expanded a little bit. But I think, you know, the problem is that people are still buying. Sellers are still able to sell. It's taking a little bit longer. They're sitting on the market for a little bit, but a lot of these guys don't necessarily have to sell. A lot of the bigger buildings, you know, were purchased probably over 10 years ago. So the equity on them is, you know, quite substantial. A seller is not going to, you know, blink at sitting on the market for an extra 30 days if it means he gets his extra, you know, $1 million out of it. And, you know, if it sits on there long enough, there's going to be someone with some cash who's going to come along and see it as an opportunity and buy it and be able to put that 40% down. So I think that's the thing, is that, you know, there's a majority of investors who aren't buying, or can't afford to maybe buy at that price. But, you know, the smaller few who can have the money, and they are doing it, and the sellers are seeing themselves. So they're not as, you know, they're a little bit reluctant to give up that sale price, and it's holding on to the value a little bit, or onto that selling price at least.
That's fair. Yeah. I've seen a lot of crazy buys in like the single family space over here. Like, there were a lot of people coming to Windsor for the single family homes. And like I had, not my clients personally, but I had clients approach me from when they bought back in February, March, and their interest rates have risen since then. And now they're like negative cash flow on these homes, like 800 to over 1,000 negative with the tenant in there. It's insane.
It's funny. It doesn't make sense to buy these. Like, I saw this post going around the other day. I'm sure both of you did too. Is like, you know, that buy on that single family home or that duplex, like, that cash flow that you have isn't really cash flow when in, you know, 2 years you have to pay for a $3,000 water heater and $2,000 to get somebody out and $1,000 to fix it. There goes all your cash flow. Like, you know, as an investor, like, are you really you're not making any cash flow on these properties? It doesn't make sense.
Building up deferred maintenance costs at that point. Like, I think too, like,
you have to take the maintenance into account for sure. Like, I have a real estate calculator that I get for free, by the way, in my link tree if anybody wanted to see it, where like I actually take the maintenance into account, and there's different ranges for how old the property is. So yeah, maintenance is definitely something you have to take into account on a monthly basis for like for your properties. And I have separate bank accounts for each of my properties as well. So there's always a reserve. I do recommend a reserve, and you're kind of forced to in the commercial space for certain deals. So yeah, I agree. I at least, like, for my last couple deals, like I was able to make cash flow off of them. The last one was a single family duplex conversion. So that one made a lot of sense at the time because duplexes back then were running in like the 600-700 range, and it made no sense. And I could make my own duplex for under 500K from a single family home, and it would be turnkey and ready. So I mean, yeah, definitely, like, it depends property to property, and you definitely have to take maintenance into consideration, and a lot of investors don't, for sure.
I feel like not saving for deferred maintenance is like being a business for sale person and just like spending all your money and then being hit with a tax bill at the end of the year, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I have to pay for this.
I forgot about this part. Like, I didn't make all this money. That's right.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
like,
government made that money.
Yeah.
HST.
You know you're gonna have some repairs coming along at some point. You may have just renovated your building, but all you're doing is pushing it down the road. And yeah, I mean, like, even on just like a basic BRRRR, you know, like, when you're running your numbers at a purchase price and you're estimating or guesstimating, or maybe not even guesstimating what your cash was going to be on that refinance, as soon as you hit that first refi, you've already lost probably 20% of your cash flow. Like you lose a big chunk when you do that burn and take that equity back out. So I mean, you're already losing cash flow right away. And yeah, I mean, I think single family homes. Like I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were saying that a contact of theirs is associated with like a fund, and it's like $1 billion fund, and they're already buying back up single family homes, in the Ontario market. And it's tough for, home buyers to be able to compete when you have, liquid heavy investors and, $1 billion funds that just lend off a balance sheet. And, you're just, kind of stuck there trying to get in off your standard salary. So I think it's, the prices, it's going to be, it's going to get driven back up. It's going to remain competitive. I think it's going to push first-time buyers into, like they're going to get forced to house hack. They're going to have to look at a duplex, triplex, fourplex, and try to just find the way to be able to get that additional rental income to help qualify.
Right.
The market's going to remain tough. I think there's all the factors that make it great for a great market for multifamily are going to be the factors that make it really tough for single-family homes. All the immigration that's coming in, and you take a look at all the working immigrants versus the working Canadians, the working immigrants easily, make probably 30, 40 more than what the average Canadians, in terms of competing for homes.
They come over here, they come educated. Like a lot of them come into Canada because they have some sort of education and they make a higher income. So yeah, there are you're absolutely right. And I have clients that have recently come into Canada and buying their own homes, and they're working professionals. And there's gonna be a lot more competition in the market for sure with the immigration coming in. And I think like we still don't quite have the supply yet. And speaking of like Windsor specifically too, like we have so much development going on that's major, like bigger than a lot of other cities in Ontario. Like we have that Stellantis battery plant that's going to bring 2,000 employees to an area, the mega hospital, the bridge that's going to be completed soon, an Amazon warehouse. Like there's just so many people coming over here too. So and not even from like an immigration standpoint either. And we're like a university and college town as well, or city. I keep thinking town, like we're not that small anymore. I was born and raised here. It definitely wasn't like this like 20 years ago. But yeah, so it's you're absolutely right. Like the immigration coming into Canada, there's going to be a lot coming to Ontario, a lot going to Alberta, and they're going to look for more affordable places. Windsor, Southern Ontario, Alberta, obviously, like is a pretty affordable place at the moment. So
Have you seen those ads? Those ads that Alberta started running in downtown Toronto, where they're trying to get people to come and live in Alberta.
Is it like the pre-con ads, like where
there was a few. It was like one was about waiting in the subway. It was really witty and smart. It's like, you don't have to do this in Alberta, or like, are you tired of working for this job where you can make more money doing this? And they had them plastered all over Toronto.
Are you tired of wandering the streets scared at night on your way home from work?
You just gave me I'm gonna put my like ad in the middle of Dundas Square to get everyone to come to Windsor. It's like, are you sick of traffic in Toronto? Come to Windsor, where we're like a third of the price and a lot cozier. Yeah, that's smart of them. I lost like a couple of investors to Alberta back in February, March, and I couldn't blame them. I'm like, I mean, the numbers made so much more sense over there at the time. So
I think I did 8 or 10 properties in Alberta this year. Like I had a ton of investors buying, but you're like, they were getting duplexes for like $358,000, $400,000, and they were like nice looking duplexes. And you're not getting duplexes in like a big city in Ontario. Like it was like Calgary, Alberta, like right in the middle.
Yeah.
Vanessa helping us out. Thank you.
I just saw that the mountain is calling. I remember it now.
Yeah, we do need a Jamie. We have a Peter.
Yeah,
Peter pull it up.
Jamie.
There we go. Yes. Jamie's pulling it up. He's got it. What do we got?
What did the
Burton say to the Torontonian, "You're hired"?
That is so petty. I love it. And I can't.
an engineer, accountant, and plumber walk into a province, they all get
Oh my
jobs.
God.
Yeah,
Oh my
Alberta was
god.
shooting its shot last month. They I think they know that
Look
people are
at
feeling the
them.
squeeze in Ontario.
Bigger paychecks.
Wow.
Hey, these are pretty solid ads. I'm impressed.
Yeah, they did a good job. There was a lot of
I
controversy around it.
I love
I mean,
Calgary.
it's true. It is kind of true. I can't blame them.
Okay, yeah, Calgary is great. Milena, you said that you
Mhm.
started your team. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your team? You work for
Yeah.
EXP. I see you guys everywhere. Like I know you guys. I think you just had your conference in Las Vegas this weekend or this week.
Correct. Yeah.
And what's
Uh,
going on? Tell us about it.
Yeah, for sure. So, EXP Realty is a pretty big online brokerage across North America. It's very quickly growing. I decided to go on EXP so I could eventually build my own team, and I did. I just brought on 2 team members this past week, and details are coming out next week, so I can't quite tell you too much about that yet. But so yeah, so EXP, lots of opportunity there. They have like the lowest like cut that I could find out of any brokerage, and it makes sense because they're online. There's no physical office. But like there's definitely a lot of room for growth there, and it's relatively easy to hire agents under you and to build your own brand under this team or under this brokerage. So yeah, I'm really liking it. I'm already bringing on team members like within my first year of becoming a realtor. The social media has helped a lot in bringing in a lot of leads and getting attention in the Windsor market because social media isn't quite as utilized in by Windsor realtors as much as it is in Toronto. You guys like
Don't
the
tell them.
realtors over the don't tell them. Shh. It's okay. They can give it a shot, but it's yeah. So yeah, I grew pretty quickly over here, like thanks to EXP and the social media thing, and yeah, I'm liking it. The only thing that I didn't like is you have to be a little more independent. Like you have to find information on your own. There's not going to be any hand holding unless you get a good sponsor. You know that
Yeah.
if you're under someone that actually mentors you. So yeah, that's I like if you're getting into EXP, I recommend find a good team leader or a good sponsor to kind of guide you through it. If you're a brand new agent, if you're experienced, you should get the hang of it relatively quickly. So yeah, so starting my own team, and I'm also running real estate investor events monthly where we give all proceeds to CMHA charity. So that's been pretty big. We've had big names there like Seth Ferguson, Kyle McDonald, Claire Drage. I don't know if you know her. She's a big
We know
mortgage
Claire.
agent. Yeah, she was awesome. Like all of them, fantastic speeches, and it's starting to gain traction. Lots of Windsor investors coming there. People from all over Ontario coming there as well every month. So yeah, it's and my next one is on the 19th as well. So if you guys are in Windsor, feel free to come on in.
Okay.
We're gonna have our tiny home guy in Windsor, Clark Galley, talking there. So
There you go. Is there cost? Is like, do people have to sign up ahead of time to show up, or they just show up, or how do they?
most people buy tickets like day of, to be honest. But yeah, there are tickets involved. Like pizza's included in your ticket, and the rest goes to charity. So most real estate investors don't mind the $20 investment to be able to to
20 pizza,
sit
yeah.
with a bunch of other investors. Yeah.
That sounds good. We have that's amazing. Thank you. Thanks for putting that on. Having those social meetups is so important, and if you're looking to get into
Yeah.
investing, your network is really where your opportunities are going to show up, guys. If you guys are watching, looking, how are
Exactly.
you going to invest in real estate? I don't know all the answers. I don't know you don't need to know everything. You need to get in a room with people who know things, and all those people have either made mistakes or they know people who have made mistakes enough to probably guide you to your first deal. So, going to events like what Milena is doing, or any other social event out there for real estate investors, is going to give you a lot of exposure on deals and possibly even maybe find you a deal or a JV opportunity.
I think that's
Right.
a great segue actually into one of the questions that we just had, which is how do you potentially prepare for the recession if you're looking to invest in real estate? And I think one thing that you could do is talk to an investor that had been through a previous recession, and what did they do and what were the strategies, and what were some of the signs and signals that they look for. It's something that we've done on our side is just talk to our lenders on the bank side, talk to our lenders on the private lending side, talk to some of our investors, and just say, hey, we haven't been through this, but you guys have. What did you see? What were some of the patterns? How quickly did it seem to correct? What did it look like coming out of it? And just to try to help us prepare and give the best advice to our borrowers and our partners in the industry. And I think it's something that we've continuously kind of been talking about, but obviously just as all three of us have said, stay as liquid as possible. If something does come up, you want to be able to pull the trigger. You don't want to have to try to lock the deal up, condition of financing, and then go out and source some down payment and potentially lose the deal that way. So have your JV partners ready, have your capital partners ready, your mortgage brokers, your insurers, your realtors, everybody like that. So just learn as much as you can, get as prepared as you can, and just start running numbers, and don't be scared to make the move on deals that make sense.
Yeah, for sure. I'd say managing cash flow expectations on your portfolio too. This probably should have been done about 3 or 4 months ago when we started seeing interest rates go up. But if you have a full variable portfolio, understanding what those interest rate hikes are about to do to your portfolio, are you just cash flowing, or are you in risk of being negative cash flow? Some clients are coming to us now, and it probably is a little bit too late now if you have multiple properties that are just about to be underwater. And locking into a fixed rate, you're guaranteeing a loss, but not going into a fixed rate right now, you don't know how much downside is. It's a tough conversation to have, but mitigating your cash flow loss for a prolonged period of time. So just take a finger on the pulse on that, because things happen very quickly, as everybody has just seen. 6 months ago, we were giving away 3% loans, and now we're at 6.5% loans. So
yeah, I agree. I think people need to run their numbers conservatively for sure in this market, and so, like you said, be prepared to pull the trigger within the next 6 months. Have your ducks in order to take an opportunity when you see it, because I think there are going to be a lot of opportunities within the next 6 months for sure, especially in Windsor. I personally can't see Windsor staying low for too long, again, because of all the stuff we have going on here. The mega hospital might even rival London's at this point, and that's a little further in the future. But if you're looking at making a long-term investment, I think at least Windsor right now is a good opportunity. Not to be biased, I was born and raised here, and I'm a realtor here, but just looking at what's going on, yeah, come buy with me. I need them. Yeah, it's yeah, you know what I mean. But yeah, I think the city has a lot of potential, and yeah, considering the market right now, I think the next 6 months are gonna make millionaires within the next 10 years. So
I think
yeah,
you're right.
it's interesting to see what's going on.
Agreed. I think that there is going to be a lot of pressure for a short period of time, and this is very man-made. This isn't something that is coming from a source. This is something that our government or our bank has created to be able to stop inflation.
Right.
I think as soon as
they created inflation.
As soon as they take the finger off the pulse, I think obviously the housing market goes back.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
This is an outside circumstances. I think they overestimated what the economic impact that COVID would have. I don't there's a lot of theories behind there, and I'm sure there's some insider theories about it too. But yeah, I think they overestimated what COVID would do to the economy, and kind of made money free for the last couple years. And a lot of people, I think the best time to buy was beginning of 2021, because that was before prices really started to skyrocket and the interest rates were still low there. Yeah, so it's yeah, we got some catching up to do in terms of combating inflation for sure.
What a wild time to be alive. Just think about that for a second. We had 0.99% rates we had free
Mhm.
money with 30% appreciation on
Done now. You're not getting that
assets.
anymore.
Right.
Craziness. You know,
I
you're gonna ask us
agree.
how our first years in real estate were. We're gonna tell them like we had the world's most craziest peaks and troughs.
I bought this thing called the Bored Ape, and it went to like $1 gazillion. Like that's essentially what happened. Like it's just
Yeah.
people
You
couldn't
just
go
don't do
wrong.
anything.
That's the problem, though, is that we bred 2 years of new investors that essentially couldn't fail, and then a
Mhm.
big giant black cloud came in and like messed up a whole lot of projects, and some
Called
people
reality.
learned really quickly
Yeah.
that like it's real estate, as secure and as safe as an investment it is, it's still an investment, and it has a cycle like a stock. Well, it has a cycle similar to what a stock market's going to go through. It's just your peaks and crests are a lot different. So it's and I mean, like, you got to take a look at the history of real estate as well too. You have peaks, and then you have fallouts. You have higher peaks and fallouts, and you have higher peaks and fallouts, and it's a pattern. Like it happens. I think it's every five or six. Well, recessions are like every like 8, but I think like a pattern of real estate, it's every like 6, 7, 8 years. Your 2009, 2017, and then 2022. So you're like around like that 5 to 7 years. But I mean, like it happens. Real estate can only hold on to so much pressure of upward driving forces before there needs to be a cooling down period. You can't get to a point where you're having 50% growth every year, 60% growth everywhere. Like, if we continued on the trajectory that we were going on, real estate would have been unaffordable the next like 2-3 years. Like, it would have just been out of everybody's reach. Like, it has to correct a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
You
I
can't
agree.
maintain.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I think like I mean in any market, I think it's definitely important to run your numbers. And what I like about real estate, like compared to stocks, is you have a lot more control of the company. Like, instead of the company, you have a property. So you could do things to the property to like force its value to go up. You can control the way you put money into it, unlike a stock. And definitely we have the ebbs and flows. I do like real estate just because there's more control there. So you can add another unit to a building, you can renovate it, you can do so many things to it that you wouldn't be able to do to like a company you buy a stock of, unless you're like a major shareholder or something. But yeah, so I think I think we should take it seriously. Like, definitely, I agree with you. Like, it's an investment. You got to run your numbers. You have to be careful with it.
Yeah, the motto of like, it's not going to fail. I think everyone thought that it wasn't going to fail, and obviously, not that it failed,
And it
but it
did.
definitely corrected. And it's just a reminder. It's a reminder of how just how big the game of real estate is, and there's just so much more that goes into real estate than what a lot of people who are involved in it really understands. And you got to take a step back. You got to understand that you really are investing in an economy in a sense. Because that's what's truly going to affect your asset, outside of the bit that you can force appreciate it. But you can't, unfortunately, force appreciate out the depreciation of a downward market like we're seeing right now. So
Yeah.
I think that's where strategies are going to have to change. Like, a regular BRRRR is going to have to become some sort of duplex conversion or infill type thing. Like, that's going to become a basic BRRRR. It's not going to be new countertops, floorings, and fixtures. It's going to be, new units. It's going to be tearing down the duplex and, rezoning, getting into medium density and building a 5 to 8 unit building. Like, that's going to become the new BRRRR, simply because that's what's going to be able to be needed to be able to increase the value enough to be able to get any of your expenses back out. And plus just the huge value add that it has. There's a lot of great programs out there now. We have the MLI Select program. There's the standard CMHC program that's available. We have great options with our B commercial lenders that are going to allow you to cover your costs and stuff like that. So, it's going to be a growing period. Investors are going to have to learn what are they going to have to do their own borrower covenant, make themselves look a little bit stronger, stay as liquid as possible, and start thinking a little bit bigger than, single family to duplex conversions. And now thinking, hey, we have 500,000 immigrants coming every year, and the government's not doing anything to help our development, we're going to have to start doing it ourselves. And these medium to high density conversions are people are going to have to start stepping up and doing more of that to contribute back.
Yeah, watching the segue of how investment is going to change over time is going to be really interesting. Like the last 2 years, flipping was the thing. If you threw anything at a wall, it stuck. You made money. As asset prices increase and as affordability becomes a challenge for most people because the total gross annual household income just isn't able to support debt anymore, I foresee the majority of investors going to commercial real estate. That whole multifamily space of being able to afford and truly scale into an investment style like a portfolio, like it's all going to go commercial. It's all going to be based off debt servicing ratios. And the average investor is kind of going to get phased out. It's going to become either all or nothing. I think again, you have probably two cycles before regular residential real estate becomes unaffordable. And we saw that in February where mass hysteria, like I'll never be able to own a home. I quit. The average millennial was like, fuck it, the game's over. But like the cycles, as Erin said, they'll happen. And after 2 more cycles, I don't think we see any more residential real estate that's affordable.
Well, that's like, you're looking like potentially, let's call it 15 years from now. I'm 46, I'm mid 40s, and real estate becomes like an heirloom thing. At least like residential 1, maybe 2 unit real estate becomes heirloom. But like just the standard detached home becomes a luxury home just because you have a backyard, a front yard, and you're not attached to another property, right? Like the definitions of real estate is going to start to change a little bit in terms of what's considered luxury and what's not considered luxury. It's a standard house, I guess. So I it's gonna come quick.
I was gonna say, like, the Windsor market has changed so much the past 3 years, and like when you mentioned the luxury thing, I had some clients that haven't like looked into real estate in like 5 to 10 years in Windsor, and in Windsor our properties were dirt cheap. I'm talking like you could get a mansion here for like 400K. It was insane. And so now, like, I had clients that come to me and they're expecting that same thing. And like the things that like we've considered luxury now are not quite like luxury any like compared to back then. So I could see like that shift in Windsor right now at least. Like I think we were undervalued for quite a long time, and I can only imagine like how like the Toronto or even like Cambridge is like an entirely different feel over there as well. And like you said, after 2 cycles, I don't even know like what level Toronto or the surrounding areas will be in compared to Windsor. But yeah, so housing is definitely going to be hard to afford for the next generation, I think.
But we can't keep building single family homes, at least like full detached single family homes. I think the semi detaches are only going to go for, I don't know how much longer we can keep building those, because zoning density is going to be the big target of concern. And, we're going to start building upwards. We can't, can't just keep plotting single units. You got to start building higher density. So I think it's only a matter of time before we start seeing 76 is huge. 76% undervalued. Well, I guess it depends on what you're considering that 76% from. But
I read that. That was that title, that whole 76% overvalued. If you actually read the article, that's the clickbait article. It doesn't. It's not actually saying it's 76% overvalued, but
I didn't see it yet.
No, it's all this media that's coming out saying, with these clickbaity headlines, it's definitely very pessimistic towards what's happening right now. And it's almost like they grab something and they run with it because obviously it sells. And a lot of people are just misinformed with what's actually happening. Like, from peak to trough, we're down a ton. But if you go over year, we're not down that much. I think some places are even up still. Some places are up 2 or 3% year over year. Average inflation. I mean, average appreciation of an asset. So, but no one's talking about that because it doesn't sell any news, and people aren't scared. So, it's our job as professionals to be able to advise people correctly on what's actually happening in the market. Obviously, there's outlier years, but I don't think there's. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the best time to buy is when people are scared. So yeah,
Everyone else
lots
is
of
selling. What's
opportunities
the
there.
reason why not a bad opportunity to buy?
Yeah, and I think like summarizing our conversation, I think there's never a perfect opportunity to buy, but when the numbers make sense, take that opportunity. There's a lot of investors right now that are focusing on staying liquid, being prepared for probably 6 to 8 months of hard times. We're about to see a ton of inventory on the market. There's going to be some great buying opportunity. As a buyer and as an investor, you're going to have a lot of opportunity to put conditions in an offer, to maybe get a VTB, to be creative. Talk to your broker about being creative. Talk to your real estate agent about finding really cool opportunities. If there's ever a time to buy, it's going to be right now. Fortunes are made in a down market. And for ones who understand how to play this market properly, you're going to make an incredible amount of money over the next 10 years if you start buying opportunities right now.
Right. I 100% agree. Yeah, so definitely buy now within the next year is what I would say. I'm definitely planning on buying a bigger project soon. So yeah, so I see like a lot of my investor clients coming back to Windsor right now. They kind of left in February, March, and I don't blame them because I mean I couldn't even justify the prices then. And now they're coming back. They're starting to see more cash flow opportunities, more burr opportunities over here as well. So yeah, it's interesting to see. When a lot of investors start coming back, I feel like it might be a good time to buy. So yeah, I mean, definitely this next year is gonna be where millionaires are made.
Completely agree. We have one question we're going to answer really quick and then we'll wrap up. Darcy, what would you focus on as a new investor right now? If I was a brand new investor and I had the ability to choose anything, I would do a owner occupied fourplex. I put 10% down and I would focus on having as many units as possible with as little cash as possible if I was looking to get in right away. That would allow you to be able to make some strategic renovations to the property, have a completely cash flowing asset. And then when you are looking to move on to personal residence or whatever it might be, you can still go purchase another property at 5% down.
For my first one, I did an owner occupied 6 unit for yeah, I got that from RBC on a residential mortgage,
Nice.
luckily.
Unreal.
Yeah, so that was good. Yeah, I do agree the house hacking is definitely a great thing. It would also depend on like what your goals are and your position. Maybe he has a house that already has equity and he can maybe go into the commercial space. Yeah, definitely depends on your goals there. But yeah, my goals at the time were cash flow and to create as much wealth as possible as quickly as possible. So yeah, house hacking definitely is a good option. I agree.
Yeah, Milena, it has been an absolute pleasure chatting today. Watching all your success and hearing about it, it's exciting to see, all these new investors and new agents and new brokers coming into the space, adding value. It's phenomenal. Thank you so much for coming on today and chatting with us. If anybody does want to reach you, how can they reach you?
You can go to my Linktree, so Linktree / Milena Simsic, or on my Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. I'm on all the platforms. It's all under my name, Milena Simsic.
Phenomenal. Thanks so much, guys. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to either Erin or myself. You guys know how to reach out to us, either Instagram, Facebook, or our contact information is going to be down below. Take care.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Bye.